Hello, everyone. Welcome to Confidence Strategies 101. I'm your host, Carmen Milagro. It's Tuesday night, and we try to do this show for you on a regular basis every Tuesday at 7 o'clock. So thank you for joining us. If you're having a glass of wine, this is a time where you can just sit back and relax. One of the things that I wanted to remember to do today, because I do have to look at notes, by the way, is I want to give a shout out to everyone that is celebrating the beginning of our Hispanic Latino Heritage Month. I think it's something to be pretty proud of, and hopefully we have some really good positive things coming out that we'll be sharing together for the month. So again, welcome back to Confidence Strategies 101. We're really focusing on the back to basics. We want to get to know our guests. I want to be able to share their stories and really, the show is about positivity. And there's different forms, there's different topics and ideas and different guests from all walks of life. Entrepreneurs to musicians to designers to creative people to coaches and mentors. So that's really the focus of each of these webisodes. Is I really want to highlight the positive work being done in the world and our local communities, and hopefully it inspires you, in one way or another. So in a nutshell, that's pretty much it. As always, I love it when you comment and you like and you share our videos. And if you find an interesting, inspirational moment that you want to share with your loved ones in your community, we welcome that wholeheartedly. I want to be able to share with you a little bit of an introduction, a little bit of an insight as to tonight's guest. She's waiting in the virtual green room, so I'm going to bring her on board in just a minute. But first, I want you to know who she is. She's my friend and colleague. She's my business partner on many projects. Her name is Dr. Katerina Rozakis, and tonight we're going to touch on her personal story from different angles. It's confidence strategies that she uses in life through her cancer journey and taking on the entrepreneurial lifestyle that she incorporates into everything else that she does. She's certainly someone who wears many hats and has different titles, but for tonight's purposes, we're going to throw out those titles, not for any other reason, but just so that we can get to know her a little bit better in a different way. Now, professionally, she's also a CBD educator. She's a wellness coach and a psychotherapist in her own private practice. Dr. Kat is committed, and this is the part where community comes in and doing good work, right? She's committed to helping individuals achieve a healthy, balanced life, utilizing the best practice from healing methods from both from both Eastern and Western approach. She's also a mother and a wife. She's a former model. There's so much more to who she is as a human being. This isn't our first interview together. We've recorded a few other podcasts, and we do our weekly Monday morning show called CBD with your favorite PhD, and that PhD happens to be none other than Dr. Kat. Dr. Kat, welcome. Welcome to Confidence Strategies on Tuesday night.
Hi, Carmen. What a lovely introduction. Thank you very much. And I feel very grateful to be working with you.
Oh, thank you. Likewise. I love this. Tonight I wanted to just sort of give you an opportunity. I don't often see you in a denim jacket and that sort of thing. So a lot of the time that we spend together is collaborating and working and doing different projects. So I thought this would be just a great fun way to just let our viewers get to know you and spend some time with you.
Thank you.
So what are you doing this afternoon? Resting from the long day, I'm assuming, or
well,
trying.
You're touching on something that I've been working on, and that's vulnerability.
Oh.
So it's interesting. What am I doing? I'm sitting here sipping water. for my favorite cat cup.
I love it. I love
I
it.
just got off work. I had a long day.
Yeah.
And ran here and changed my jacket so I
Yeah.
could be cash out.
There you go. There you go. We're really wanting to share, the vulnerable side of our guests and have them tell their stories. And just, I love the idea of, we walk around with we wear different hats, but I think a lot of people do. There's the work persona or the stage persona or the celebrity persona, but there's, at least the people in my world and the people that I work with and the people that I invite onto the show, there's a real human being. There's an authentic person behind all of those masks that we wear. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I just think that that is part of life when we are creating different brands and different, we're working on different projects. Can we just start right with the first question and just sort of dive in and getting to know you? Do you mind if we do that?
No, not at all. That'd be great.
Okay. So sit back, relax. If there's anything that you don't feel like answering, you can just say pass.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Let's see. I have so many questions that I wrote down, and I'm just going to pick and choose. I'm going to just kind of cherry pick them. So let's start with, okay. Who or what was your best resource, your most important source of confidence while you were growing up? Did you have someone that really kind of fueled and nurtured that part of your development?
I think that in our lives, there comes that person, that mentor.
Right.
And there have been a few. But I think the biggest change happened around age 12. I was extremely shy. I am shy. A lot of people don't know that about me. Maybe I assume I'm shy, but so being very shy, my mother always used to tell me stand up straight. I used to slouch. And I was in school. It was middle school. And we had a woman who was coming to show us a little bit about confidence. It was Confidence 101 at age 12.
There you go. That's a great time to get that.
Yeah, I always sat in the back seat. And since that day, I've never sat in the back seat. You'll catch me sitting in the front in a seminar, no matter what. Right. But what I did is I knew that she was involved in fashion. And I was very shy and I didn't know how to stand out. So I went and put on bright eyeshadow. And I went and I sat in the back and she's teaching and she keeps glancing over at me. And she said, "Hey, you in the back, come here." And she puts me in the front. And she said, "Such a beautiful face should never hide behind that ugly color green."
Oh my God.
So she took off my eyeshadow and she said, "You sit here in the front with me." And she came after. She said, "I own a modeling school and I'd like for you to consider." And she gave me a brochure. Right. And I took it home and I was excited, talk about confidence. And my mother said to me, "Oh, it's about time somebody's going to teach you how to stand up straight." I'm like, "No, Mom, it's about modeling." And she said, "Well, I'm not going to do it unless you learn how to stand up straight. That's all I care about." She doesn't like that I was slouching. So I ended up, working with her, and it was a long career. And she was my mentor, somebody who believed in me. And the hard work. She had me starting to work at age 12.
Do you mind? Like, I think at age 12, if I had been brought up to the front of the stage, because I too used to sit in the back, it's all coming back to me. But if that had happened to me, I think I would have been absolutely mortified. Now, do you recall were you excited that she did see you? Because there's different ways that scenario can play out for a 12-year-old.
Well, has
You know?
anybody ever felt their heartbeat so much that it's coming out of their chest, their mouth, and their ears, and their knees wobble so much that they think they're going to trip and fall in front
Oh,
of everybody?
yes.
Yeah. So
Okay, so
it
that's the
was,
feeling.
yeah. But she had the biggest smile and was
Right,
looking straight at me and opened her arms with so much love. It was like a magnet.
right.
And it was at the same time this feeling I'll never forget that I was seen.
So it sounds like at that age, it was more important to be seen versus that uncomfortable, heart beating out of your
Yeah,
chest.
when you're shy, you're always thinking about so many things that,
Right.
are false.
Right. Sure.
You
Because we
know,
don't know at 12.
yes. And who doesn't want to be seen?
Right. Right. So from there, we're going to jump a little bit, but if you could just briefly kind of walk us through, you you're discovered as a model and you become a psychotherapist. Like how did that happen?
I was born a psychotherapist.
Okay.
I was born at age
I love that.
5,
Yeah. Uh-huh.
saying, God created the world. And I'm like, but who created God? I mean, like, I couldn't rest at night. And I remember I used to walk in the neighborhood and look inside people's, windows, was so curious about people's behaviors. And it was something that fascinated me. And my family, my brother particular, my father being a Spartan, health was very important, having a strong body and eating healthy. And my mother was a very healthy cook. And so I was raised around a very healthy mentality that the way you think and what you eat makes you, stronger and healthier. And it was about building a strong immune system to the point where my father used to open all the windows in the winter and create a draft. And my mother be running and closing all the windows. And she's saying, you're going to kill them. And then he would say, Sophia, trust me. And the next day it would snow and he'd take us out in our pajamas and he'd make us walk and lie down in the snow in our pajamas. And he says, this is going to create strong immune system, strong kids. So I forgot your question because I get caught up in stories.
That's okay. That's all right. Again, this is just kind of free flow. I've got, some talking questions, but it's whatever comes up for us. No, the question was, so you're discovered as a model at 12 and whoops, I don't know what happened there. And you became a psychotherapist and you said you were born a psychotherapist. So I think you did.
Oh, the modeling question. How did that happen? So,
Yeah.
I didn't know at that time that I would be a psychotherapist. I did know that I wanted to be involved in behavioral health. And I don't know why or how I knew about Freud, but I visualized myself, behind a desk. And that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be in the helping field. However, I got involved in the modeling field, and it was the best thing that ever happened because I've learned what women feel like, what that facade is, and what the shell is, and what media does to us, how it can destroy us.
Sure.
In the interim, I went to school and I had to earn a living, so I modeled, and I also got involved in cosmetics. And ended up being a makeup artist and a freelancer and, traveled, would go to New York, do makeup, worked for many brands and worked with skin and makeup. And I remember while I was going to college, one of my dear friends who was an artist did a caricature of me. And I was doing makeup and she said, well, if you can't buy or choose a color, can you at least tell me about your mother?
That's funny. Do you still have that?
I do. I filed it away and I've been looking for it, but I do have it.
Good.
I'll bring it out
That's
one day.
And there's so many different things. Like many of us, we've done different things throughout our lives. Was there in the field that you landed in this world in helping people and the really the medical field, right? Did you encounter some challenges because you were a woman, because you were a model, Or was it mostly, like you said, that you really had all this benefit and insight to help other women, but were there some challenges?
That's a good question, Carmen. I'm sure there were. I'm a true believer in belief. I was raised in an environment where there wasn't a word tolerance, because tolerance means that there's an issue with someone, you have to tolerate it, that there's a difference. Um, Colorblind environment, multicultural environment. And I was never told by my father that because I'm a woman that I can't do anything. He used to look at me and say, "Ma story." He used to say, you want to go to school, but remember, when you climb the ladder, it can be lonely and sad. If you don't go to school, you may be a little bit happier, but you'll have more choices. If you go to school. I've moved a lot in my life, and I've lived up northeast and the southeast. And when I was living in the Northeast, people would ask me what I want to do. It was very progressive, academic. It was expected that you would go to school. At least my parents never hindered me, with the exception that they would have, they had their beliefs about how much school and what to study, and to study in business or secretarial to help my husband. So I think that's a little bit about what we're talking. But people would ask me what I want to do, and I'd say, well, XYZ in regards to academia. And then when I moved down south to the deep southeast, people would ask me the same question. And they would say, what? You want to go to school? You don't want to have children? You don't want to stay home? And I was like, am I supposed to do that?
Right.
And I was continuing my education. Sure. When I moved. And so looking at the changes in our society within one country, the perceptions.
For women.
Yes, the perceptions of what our roles, are supposed to be. And you mentioned earlier that we wear different hats, and you use the word mask, but, they're roles. And we do play different roles. I can't come in and play the role of, the soccer mom while I'm interviewing for a corporate position, right? You have to wear those hats.
Exactly.
So yes, I guess there were subtle, but I saw it in the modeling field. Right. Very, very much so.
Of course. But that also, correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like those situations and the way that you handle them, and the way that your foundation was already sort of laid out for you, allows you to have the confidence to perhaps not feel it as much as someone else. When you have it.
I felt a shift when I moved to the West, because there was a lot of discussion about diversity and separating people. And it was the first time that culturally, not so much as a woman,
right,
that I recognized that I might be different.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. Oh, okay. What would you say? I mean, just not as a therapist, not as a professional, this is what you do, but just from your own personal life, maybe something that you would say to your children, like what's your best advice for living a confident life? And that's a big question, so you can just hone in on anything that you like.
So in order to live a confident life, you have to be confident. And it's all about belief. We've been given many whispers, many loud voices, either the television or, when we were young, a lot of people are bullied. And these voices play like tape recorders in our head. They are not our voices.
Right. So what is your voice? Because I saw you go right back into Dr. Kat. What is, like, Katerina, what do you tell yourself or your children about living a confident life? Do you have a saying? Do you have something that you draw upon, kind of your go-to?
I don't really stop and think about that.
Uh-huh.
I have had to work on my beliefs. So what I do tell, my children, is I ask them, what are they thinking? And, restructuring your thoughts. And I work on it every day as, Katerina,
Right.
not as Dr. Kat. I teach the skills to my patients,
Sure.
but for myself, we have to do our own work. One of the important things of leadership and confidence is skills, and you have to constantly,
Right.
seek those skills and practice them.
Right.
And what makes you feel confident, in my opinion, at least for me, is to accomplish something.
Right.
So getting up every day and setting, an intention and making sure there's not too many of them so
Sure.
that I can, you know, finish
I,
something.
I remember, for me, there's just the mantra that I grew up with that, my mom was always very, she had, and I don't know if it's a cultural thing exactly, but she always had this way of phrasing things. And one thing that I remember growing up with that has, followed me everywhere is she would say, "You are no less than anyone, and you're no better than anyone.
It's great.
That's who you are." So that was sort of my, my go-to. I've told my nephews and my niece, the children that I've worked with, that's kind of the the premise for, how I live my life.
Oh, I love that. And I guess it helps me answer the question a little bit better.
No, no, it's fine.
Yeah, but Katerina, her core, and one of the things, again, Dr. Kat, that I teach is people to find their creative spirit and who they are. And mine is, if I was going to give myself a nickname, it would be Happy.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and so I think just lifting all those layers and recognizing that deep down inside, there is joy.
Right, right. That's wonderful. We mentioned how you've got so many different titles and you do a variety of things. And I think, in my experience, anyway, there's not too many people that also are in your field and are also entrepreneurs. You mentioned earlier that you were born a psychotherapist. Were you also born an entrepreneur?
I must have been. I must have been. There are people that lead and people that follow, and we need everybody, and, when you're young, you follow.
Right.
I feel a responsibility that anytime I learn something, that I have to share it. That is so important to me. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why I'm here. And there were times in my life where I wouldn't share things to teach other people because I wasn't sure whether I was right. And
Mhm.
so I was very persistent in learning and keeping up to date because I think it's a huge responsibility that when we leave this planet, we leave it a better place. And that to me is extremely, extremely important and a responsibility.
Sure, sure.
And I
If
think I do that by helping people change their thoughts and
Oh,
living better lives and
of
teaching them
course.
skills. And I think we all deserve to be happy. And this is not always the happiest place to be, depending on your circumstance, where you
And things
live.
happening around us right now, particularly.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
What are some examples of some of the entrepreneurial? Can you give us like 3 examples of some of the entrepreneurial paths that you've taken?
What
You
I've done in my life?
yeah,
What,
yeah, just anything.
oh my goodness, you name it. I always have to have my fingers in something. Um, I think I've always been trying to, again, improve things. So there's an inventor
Right,
inside me.
right,
And over 21 years ago, um, I I invented the swaddle blanket because I had a situation with my daughter who had to be hospitalized, and I was told that she has to be swaddled and put on her back to sleep. And, she was born early, and, she was crying. The receiving blanket, was too big for her. She was tiny.
Right.
And I was exhausted. I had spent 72 hours after birth in ICU.
Oh my
And as I was trying to swaddle her, and everybody hears this, and it's so true when you hear it from somebody, there has got to be a better way.
Mm-hmm.
And, because this isn't working. Right. And again, that sharing component of my personality.
And that's also an entrepreneurial's mantra. There's got to be a better way is usually why people become entrepreneurs, because they are trying to figure something out.
Right.
Wow.
Right. So, I did end up with the help of my husband, who's in the engineering field, because what I wanted to create responsible. And I realized that in inventing something, you can also create problems. And so I needed his help to bring 5 points of safety into the blanket, and ended up patenting the U.S. Swaddle blanket and traveled the United States. When we initially were putting it on the internet, it would autocorrect us to saddle blanket. Now it's such a common word. And that was a nice long path to do something and to give and to teach. I think most of my life, my entrepreneurship has been to learn and to teach, and to establish something greater, for myself, for society, and my family.
Sure.
And other things. Let's see, help develop, own, and operate 5 restaurants. I've been the director and developer of many inpatient, psychiatric, and outpatient hospital units across the United States. What else? I have my present business. Oh my goodness!
It's a lot. But I think that what really, just by going through this really briefly, it still outlines that idea that an entrepreneur usually has more than one idea, but not everyone is able or willing or can afford to go down that path. So that's a pretty
well, I could not afford it. That's for sure. And I have fallen and lost. I've had many punches. And I think success is taking that punch, but getting back up. That is so important. Not giving up, perseverance, persistence. You're just maybe a little stubbornness. I don't know, but I don't see myself as a stubborn person. But I've heard that word used in other references, not towards me. But yeah, no, I think it's one of the mistakes that I've made in my life, and I have learned, is that I wore too many hats on my own. Right. And I thought taking a team required a lot of money. Mm-hmm. And so I did everything the really hard way. That is not the way to succeed, but it is the way to learn.
Right. And that's the thing. You've described really just now very succinctly the entrepreneurial journey. We're all going to make mistakes. And it's 2 things. You're going to have to get up after that punch, right? And hopefully the ideal thing is you get up and you've learned something so that you can continue to move forward.
That's right. And it requires drive.
Right.
I think that's very
confidence. Just had to throw that in there.
Well, I remember when I was inventing the swaddle blanket, it was almost like something came over me. I was studying. I was working in the doctorate, program, and I had my private practice, and I was developing inpatient psychiatric units. I was doing so many things, but suddenly it was like somebody put blinders, and I couldn't see anything, and I knew that this needed,
you were focused,
to happen, and and I just went with it. And you don't always know what seeds you plant. You don't know when you're walking and leaving footprints, you don't see the print behind you. Other people do. Ooh, and so, I don't ever believe that there are mistakes. I think there are lessons. But if you look at them as mistakes, you'll beat yourself up.
Right.
That's where the confidence comes in.
Right.
Is
Yeah.
not to
That's
beat
great.
yourself up.
Not to be. I love that. I love that. We're going to switch gears a little bit. Getting to know you on a very personal level. You were dealt a life-changing diagnosis a few years ago. And it seems to me that other discussions that we've had, this diagnosis came at a time where it seemed like you had hit your stride. You were, like on top of the world. What do you recall how you reacted, how you felt that moment when you received your cancer diagnosis?
Yep. I was pissed.
Really? That was not the answer that I was expecting.
Well, I'm sure I had so many. I mean, obviously, of
Sure.
course, I was shocked.
Sure, of
Because
course.
I lived a healthy life.
Right.
And what I said to myself is what my patients, my friends, my clients asked me, like, why you? I've spent my life trying to teach people how to live healthy. I'm a psycho-oncologist. And, after my cancer diagnosis, I continued to get a certificate and learn more and wanting to help other people. And while I'm going through treatments, I went to school every Saturday for 8 hours. But what happened is I sat on a bench with a thorn up my butt for a very long time. Poor me, how did this happen? There were so many feelings, but the feeling that really, really to this day has changed me. There's a lot, but this just came to mind for our conversation, is that anger at myself because I wore so many hats, because I started working so young, and I prioritized my family, and then I prioritized the drive, to do something academically for society. And I thought that one day will come where I will be vacationing. One day will come where I will have free time. Right. One day will come where if you invite me to go somewhere, I will be able to go instead of saying I'm too busy.
Right.
And so after I got off that thorn and my ego, I realized that, wait a minute, everybody dies. What's so special, about me? What I do know is that we can all go. We can all go tomorrow. So what do you do today? And so I slowed down. My mantra is not to rush. What was I rushing for? Intuitively, did I know I was going to get cancer? I don't know. And we have marvels, or I led a healthy lifestyle. So when I did the chemo, I was able to stay out of the hospital. I had intense chemo. I had cancer in 6 areas, metastatic. And so the doctor was very surprised how well I did. And I did work. I put my little wig on. I went to work. And it was because I lived a healthy lifestyle that I could continue to go through these very difficult treatments. And I said to myself, anybody who asks me to travel, if it's someplace I want to go, I'm not going to say no. If I can't afford it, I am going to find a way. I'm going to trust that there's going to be a way. Right. And I found out that what I started to say earlier about wearing many hats, doing things on your own, was that teamwork, working with people, not saying no, prioritizing yourself, the gratitude. I've always been a grateful person. I think, it's a whole different episode, but my childhood taught me, because my parents are immigrants and they were in the war. And so, everything, every morsel, is very important in giving gratitude for everything. But the gratitude became tenfold, and there isn't really a moment where, I won't take an opportunity, prioritize myself, slow down, and try not to say no
Right.
to having fun. Don't wait.
Don't wait. I love that. I really, really do. I think sometimes, and I see that a lot in just in women's approach to, what sometimes is somebody else's definition of success. I know I have my own, and it's very different from other women, but it's very different from even when I was 20. My definition of success for me now is having the ability to take on the projects that I really want to do. And I didn't have that before, but I also wasn't seeking that before. So it's a very different, what I'm calling, in some of the work that I'm doing with other, mentoring, mentees and coaching is I'm sort of developing this concept of just how do you mind up to align your mindset with your true desire. And it's been a very interesting process. I'm really enjoying sussing all this out and sharing it. One thing that I was going to ask you is, it sounds like, but I'm not sure, when you were going through this process of anger, and gratitude and all of these things.
Lots of stuff. And it's a long process.
Right.
It wasn't overnight.
Of course. But I remember you also shared with me on another interview that we did that, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you decided, and you had the confidence in your research or wherever that came from, you had this knowledge of hemp CBD, and you incorporated it into the treatment plan that your doctors had given you. What was the result of that decision that you made for your own self-care?
You mean to incorporate hemp CBD?
Right.
What was the result?
Mm-hmm.
Well, watch Monday's live stream.
That's a good
and
one.
Learn what CBD does. I think we talked about calm just this Monday. So please watch this Monday, because it was about COVID and, the effects and creating calm. I learned about hemp CBD, actually cannabis, in my natural health studies. It was the first requirement. The first class is learning about the AMA, homeopathy, the natural health realm, and the full circle.
Right.
And, part of that class is cancer, what happened in the medical field around treatment of cancer. Yeah. And part of that study was what was used in the past. And cannabis was in there, along with many other things. Yeah. It wasn't something that I was interested in using recreationally, but when I was diagnosed with cancer, people who had already been using it, whether it was for appetite, because you don't eat, you lose weight. You don't sleep because you're on steroids that keep you awake, and you're up all night with this false energy that exhausts your entire system. People who were in the health field would knock on the door and leave a little bag outside, and I'd open my door and there'd be this little brown bag, and inside was various forms of cannabis. And I have a story that I tell in my presentations, how I was hurting. And I didn't know what to do, and nothing I took was helping. And so I went to that little brown bag. Right. And it was the wrong thing that I took. It was something that had THC, and I had a horrible, I would say 8 to 12 hours experience that I don't wish upon anybody, because it can cause paranoia, anxiety. It just happened to be a lot. It was an edible, and I knew about the oils. And so I had shared that with somebody, and they said to me, well, you need very little THC, and so the cannabis, the hemp CBD, came into the picture. And that was almost 5 years, 6 years now since I had those treatments.
Right.
And I recognized that calmed me. It allowed me to sleep. It helped with inflammatory pain on the joints, because I got constricted. They later gave me a medication where when I'd get out of bed in the morning, I couldn't get out. I'd step and my feet were frozen, and I'd have to slowly make my way to the bathroom because I would fall, and it hurt. And by the time I went to the bathroom, it was gone. It was stiffness in the morning. But as soon as I started taking the CBD oil, the tincture, that went away.
Right.
I continued to work. And so in my private practice, people, because I'm an integrative psychotherapist, and people come for alternatives. They don't want to take pharmaceuticals. They want to know what lifestyle they can have to change. Are there nutritional changes? Are there supplements? And so I started incorporating CBD in along with the supplements at the office, and had been using it for a while. And so when the buzz came, not the high buzz, but the hello buzz on CBD that we're seeing today, I had already had a lot of experience with it, with myself and in the office. And the study continues, the constant reading. And
of course, it's
learning and
evolving, and
yeah,
so,
because again, we are very responsible. Do no harm.
right, exactly. I know that that you had shared with me also during this journey that you were on, you decided to do a very special photo shoot. And as we've learned in this interview, of course, you have your background as a model. And can you tell us how did you decide, or why did you decide to do that photo shoot? Because, and I hope that you'll share some of those photos when this live is on the Facebook page, the group page, if you're willing to.
Okay.
I have to say,
well, they're in magazines, so they're not hidden. So I would definitely, and I'm going to give you the answer why I will share them.
Yeah, and I just have to say, they're probably some of the most beautiful photos of anyone that I've ever seen, because I didn't know you very well when we first started out. We're on the board of directors for Heaven's Door Foundation. And when I saw those photos that you were, sharing with the world, and how you just were, I don't even know how else to explain it. You were just so radiant and joyful. And I thought, and so courageous.
And with my little, port for my chemo.
But,
so, thanks for asking that, because it has been a story in my head. I remember closing down radiology because, my cancer was very odd. I went in the morning, I left at night, and I kept on going back because of the discoveries.
Right.
And when I finally got the definitive diagnosis, because they did send me home with a paper saying you don't have cancer. It's a whole long story. But anyway, and that's why I try to teach women about cancer and breast awareness, all of that. I was sitting in that room, and it was cold. Radiology's cold, and they give you these blankets, and you're all waiting in your room to get your answer. And I got mine, and I sat there and I said, the doctor has become the patient has now become full circle. You are now the writer. And in my mind, that's me being responsible. I felt I had two perspectives, not just what my patient felt, but now, I was the patient. And I felt a sense of purpose that the universe or God or whatever you believe in has given this to me. Whether I survive or not, I need to make good. I need to do something. And that drove me. And I didn't want, I teach women to be fearless. A lot of people are like, oh, you have to have fear. Yeah, it's natural. It propels you. It saves your life. But
Right.
irrational fears. I wanted women not to sit home scared, but to go get that second opinion. And so what I did, for myself around that is I wanted to be a mentor. I wanted to show women that you can, don't sit on that, bench with the thorn. You can do something and you can survive. Keep a positive attitude. And I wanted to share my journey that even bald, you can be beautiful. This is where you get everything stripped from you. Every hair leaves from your body. Your eyelashes, your eyebrows. Those were painted eyebrows on my bald head. So, and fake eyelashes. And so, when it was time to go to have my double, mastectomy, and I was having surgery, I told the doctor, you better do a good job because I'm going to flash everybody. I'm going to show women every phase. I didn't, because I am shy.
Right.
Full circle. But,
Right.
I wanted, to provide a positive journey in a very negative, scary environment, because cancer is not how it used to be. We do have treatments, and we do know that if you procrastinate, it's a problem. But if you take action preventatively, you gain knowledge, you gain support from other people, and you get second and third opinions, and you take action, you have a higher rate of survival. And I wanted every woman to know that. And I didn't want anybody to die because they didn't take action.
Right.
And yes, some people do die, but not everybody has to. There's a lot of fear around cancer. I lost my grandmother. I had an aunt with cancer. And in Greece, you can't even say the word cancer.
That's
the
very
C word,
similar.
you get in trouble.
It's very similar. I'm glad you brought that up too, because that's been my experience in my community, in the Latina community. It's the word itself is so powerful that it just shuts down communication.
Right.
And I really struggled with that, not for myself, but during my mom's cancer journey. I do wish that I had had the knowledge that I have now about CBD. I think that would have possibly given me another opportunity to share that information with her. What she would have done with it, I don't know. But right now, that's where I feel like I can help, is by providing, working with you and writing articles and just sort of getting that information out.
Carmen,
I think
that experience is what driving you. Because if it was available and you did it, what would you be teaching? It's driving you. We have to take our experiences and look at them as something that propelled you to make a difference.
Thank you.
And it's dynamic.
I had not thought of it that way. Thank you. I appreciate that. But what I wanted to also share, and perhaps I heard wrong, but I thought at one point, either in an interview or something I read or something that you said, I think you said or told me that you've gone through your treatment, your journey, and that you are not only cancer free, but you're also not on the traditional, typical post treatment medications. Is that right?
So, December of 2019, I had surgery, which was considered my last treatment. It required grafting, and it was exploratory, and everything happened so fast, that it wasn't done. medications, everything. And yes, thank goodness I was given a diagnosis of a patient with a history of cancer. So, yay. And I got that diagnosis, I think in January of this wonderful 2020.
Right. At least you started it out with that news.
It was a 6 years long, but I'll tell you that once diagnosed, every little thing, your mind goes there, and it requires a lot of self-talk and awareness, those little voices in your head that you're okay. And, but you don't take anything for granted.
No, we don't. I know we're taking up your evening. I don't even know if you've had a chance to have dinner. But I thought something a little different. I haven't really done this with anyone else. I have 5 questions that I'm calling the quick round.
Oh.
And it's
so you're experimenting with me.
Yes, I am. I did
That's
this
called you guys taking advantage of your friends.
Or wanting to share something really fun and wonderful. Thanks. It's all a perspective.
May I plead the fifth or skip that one?
Exactly. So it's kind of, we've seen this before. It's nothing new, but I just thought it'd be kind of fun to just do like these really, whatever comes off the top of your head. But again, if you don't want to answer it, you just say pass.
Let's do it.
I don't think that there's anything in here that you will pass on, but we'll see. Okay. If you had to choose one role model, not family or friends, who would that be?
Pass. No.
That's good. It's like, what?
Oh my goodness. They give you those questions when you're in school.
Right.
And that was always.
I know you're stalling for time, by the way.
But after losing my father last year, he has become my role model. I remember he had broken 8 bones. And thanks to natural health, and when everybody gave up on him, I didn't. And we worked through, and that man went through so much pain, and he kept his head up high and still wanted to be of service. And I took him to get his a pedicure. And we're sitting there, and everybody was honoring him, because I don't think too many 95-year-olds, get to sit and get a pedicure, a girly mani pedicure.
Right.
And they were saying, "Oh, Mr. Rozakis, you have such strong feet, and oh, your muscles in your calves." And he said, "Well, it's because I walk 6 miles a day."
Right.
I sat there and I said to myself, I am never, ever going to complain that I have to walk an hour or 2 hours.
Right.
I just looked at him and I thought, I knew he was walking, and I knew he was walking with his walker. But and that's after he recovered.
Right.
This is after he recovered. And I said to myself, oh my goodness, stop complaining. Just do it.
Okay.
And there's so many other reasons. But yeah, I would say for now, I'm going to choose my dad.
Okay. Well, you're absolutely allowed to do that. So, okay. Let's do, who do you wish to be a role model for?
The last few years, I've worked a lot in geriatrics, and they're my role models. And I've worked a lot with adults. And the last several years, for some reason, I've had a big flux of college students. And oh my God, they're like sponges. And I have the tools. I have the tools in my hands to give them that they can use the rest of their lives to live, happier, quality, creative, spirited lives, to find who they are. And so I would say right now, the youth.
Yeah. We have so much in common.
I wonder it's why we connected. They say that people we work so much together that we don't even have time to tell our own stories. So.
I know. I'm
discovery in public.
Yes, this is it's been happening on the show, which I think is just really cool, because I get to have this one-on-one time, but then we also have folks who are listening. And like I said, they may be inspired, or they may hear something that they needed to hear in this moment. And to me, if it helps someone in that way, that's why I continue to do the show. I'm going to do maybe one more question.
Okay.
What 3 words do you use to describe yourself?
Wow. I don't describe myself to other people.
Okay, so right now.
Wait, let's be fair.
Right
here.
now.
Funny. Curious.
That's good.
Love of life. Passionate. Giving. Do you have more than 3 words?
Yeah, that's good. That's fine. That's fine. No, that's great. I think those are really, I think that's really important that we do that.
Well, I think you're making me very vulnerable, because Dr. Kat would use the other words like strong and driven and but
and that's okay too.
It is okay. It is okay. But I've decided to take the vulnerable route tonight.
I love it. Thank you. I thank you for trusting me.
Of course.
But we'll let you get back to your family. I know they're probably waiting on you. But if there's you're doing, such great work in different areas, but I know that there is one area where patients and clients go to see you and talk to you, and there's telehealth, and if someone is watching or just taking a moment to spend this time with us, where can they reach you?
Let's see. How about our website, Insight, INSIGHT FOR wellness.com. Okay. And the business number is 925-216-3510. And of course, message us. You'll always hear me say that we're accessible, and you can reach us off of Facebook on Messenger as well.
Oh, great. Thank you. Would you be so kind and put that information on the group page, Confidence Strategies 101?
Yeah.
Okay.
You'll tell me where it is at?
Yeah, Confidence Strategies 101.
Oh,
on Facebook.
Okay.
There you go.
I'll do that.
The live will be on there, so I'm sure if someone says hello, I try to go after, or at least a few hours after the live airs, and I try to go in and I try to just connect with people and say hello, and I'm not really good at doing it simultaneously. Like today, I didn't answer anybody. So I apologize for that, but thank you for spending this evening with me, and thank you for your time and your words of wisdom and your insights. As always, it was really, really nice.
Thank you for the opportunity to share stories, because stories are everything. Our narratives are everything. Thank you, Carmen.
Thank you, Dr. Kat. Have a good night.
Thank you. You too.
I will talk to you later.
Okay. Good night, everybody.
Thank you. And good night, everyone. I'm glad that you got to spend some time with us this evening, and you got to see the other side of, whoops, that was a wrong banner. You got to see and hear about some of Dr. Kat's personal stories and her personal experience, to where she is now. I really value this time with our guests, that they are open and they do trust the process here on Confidence Strategies 101. And once again, the goal is to help inspire and even entertain you. If we can make you giggle, just that's great too. I just want to again say thank you for spending your time here. Next week, I've got an international best-selling author. She's an influencer, a leadership coach, and she's the president and founder of Destiny Woman Global. Her name is Sonia Hassey. And so she'll be with us next week. And again, thank you, Music City Hit Factory. They'll be soon launching an online community music program for young people here in San Francisco. And I'm really excited to be a part of that project, not just because they're sponsoring my lives, but because I get to have a little bit of a voice in the process as well. So thank you again. Thank you for just spending this hour. We are right on the hour. We're going to cut it off there. And yeah, we'll end it on that note. We'll see you again next week, 7 o'clock on Tuesdays. It's Confidence Strategies 101, and I'm Carmen Milagro. I hope that we continue to stay safe and we thrive together and evolve together. And we dwell in positivity, not divisiveness. That's my wish for tonight and always. Thank you so much. Have a great evening. Bye-bye, everyone. Thank you.